Yeah, everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. Well, let's see. We don't have a ton of structured business this week. Still just plugging away on the animated object slash Animesh stuff. Coming along well. One of the remaining issues we've had for a while was that if you tried to enter a suitably enabled region with an old viewer, you would crash because you'd be sent messages that you didn't recognize. So we got a fix for that now, so it's actually safe to visit these animated regions, even though you'll miss out on the fun if you don't have a suitably enabled viewer. Um, yeah, other than that, we're just continuing to plug along. We might, at some point, I'll probably chat with you guys about the um, business of trying to get a good match between the skeleton position and the object position. Trying out a couple things there and see what seems to work well. Yeah, well, these are step sort of project viewers, so we shall see. So I don't know. I guess that's about all the news here. We've Anchor is still plugging away on the bakes on mesh stuff. Where the next step there is going to be getting an update to the baking service out. So we want to see how everything flies with the new 1024 limit. So I'll have to do some project performance testing for that. So I guess other than that, the floor is open. Anything folks want to talk about this week? Let's see. I have a question about normal avatars can utilize the 1024 squared skins. That should work for everybody. The idea is that we're going to boost the limit for what the limit boost the limit for what resolution we can use for the avatar wearables. So you can have shirts and skin textures and so forth that are higher than 512. And so the resulting bakes should work correctly on either a system avatar um, or a mesh avatar once that's rolled out. Let's see. Question on. Let's see. Beck is asking about changes to the animation system AOs. I assume that is referring to the extended animations, like having wing flaps along with your walks or whatever. Yeah, no, nothing new on that. It's still in the pipeline, but we're currently kind of flat out on other stuff. Once we have a project viewer for the animated mesh stuff, we might get a chance to look at that a bit more. Let's see, another question about the big texture stuff. If textures are of different sizes, it should work. If textures are of different sizes, it should all just get composited, at the resolution of each of the individual images. But we'll have to actually take that for a test drive once it's out. It's still under development right now. Yeah, when you've been able to change or modify object to Animesh, the way it's set up right now, it's another property that can be set on an object, so you would have to have modify permissions for the object to set it. If you don't have modify permissions, then you couldn't. Let's see, I have a question. For baked textures, is baking going to be something that can be applied to any prims in world, or is it a property set at upload? It's not decided for sure yet. We don't, we haven't gotten to the stage of implementing this yet. The way I've been thinking about it is as another editable property of a mesh object. So basically, on a per mesh basis, you could say, I want this particular face to be, to display the baked texture instead of the, whatever texture it's currently set to display. Um, but that's something that we'll need to look at once we get to that stage of things. Let's see. There's a question about will custom pivot points be possible with Animesh and its individual link sets? I guess I need more specifics on what that means. If you're talking about just being able to override joint positions the way that we can today with attached meshes, then yes, that'll work the same way that it would with an attached mesh. It'll it'll just be used to customize the skeleton that's being used to drive the animated mesh. Um, if you're talking about something else, then I guess I need more specifics on what you're thinking about there. Let's see, we've got a question about we're going to try to implement any of these skeletal hierarchy things, people riding on the arm of an Animesh robot or something like that. Don't know yet. That's an interesting proposal that we've had some discussions about. Haven't haven't really done anything with it yet other than discuss it here, trying to get some of the other stuff working first. One thing we may do with that is just to try to get a project viewer out as quickly as we can without tackling that one, and then kind of collect feedback once people have a chance to actually take this stuff out and do stuff with it. I have a question about removing the 5-meter bone translation limit. Yeah, I was thinking that was just a property of the way that we encoded the animations, but in any case, could you explain what the motivation is there? Why would we want to do that, even if we have the ability? Why not? Well, that's one way to look at it, but I'm curious if there's a particular application you're thinking of. Yeah, what Polycell says is also my recollection. I think the 5 meter stuff is kind of deeply baked into the way we represent the animations right now, so it would be kind of a big deal to try to change that. Um, in terms of how large a thing you could feasibly make, that's an interesting question. You've got, of course, there's the translational part and there's the rotational part. You can still, translate stuff. You can still rotate stuff as much as you want, and um, you also have the joint position hook that you can use, which lets you kind of define the base shape, um, without using an animation. So, yeah, I'm not sure how big a limit the 5 meter thing is going to turn out to be in practice. If you do want to have Godzilla in the region, which of course you couldn't because it's copyrighted, but if you wanted to have a large lizard of unspecified origin in your region, that would be an interesting test. Of course, everybody wants a 64-meter veer. This thing isn't even mesh based, so I guess you could do it now with prims if you wanted to. We've had the 5 meter limit all along. I don't think anything's changed there, during Bento development. It's it's possible the enforcement of something has changed. We have, I mean, we've. I doubt it was actually possible to encode something larger than 5 meters, but there are various things that we're checking on upload now that we didn't used to check. So it's possible that something's changed there. 10 meter av center or pelvis offset. So is this trying to define a joint position for the pelvis, or is it trying to do a 10 meter translation of the pelvis using an animation? Again, I'm not. I thought 5 meters was sufficiently deeply baked in that there wasn't even a way to represent larger things. If you have something that used to upload and doesn't now, then I'd be happy to take a look at it. But it would. I'm not sure that anything would actually change. Bypassable via NM files. Well, that's interesting. Is it possible that there's a limitation that's not just a question of representation, that the highest representable value is larger than what we allow? Okay. Yeah, I'd have to double check the code, but my impression is you can't even represent something larger than 5 meters. If you have something larger that used to work and now doesn't, I'd be happy to take a look, but I'd have to have the file for reference. Let's see. We have a question for is there any pages about Animesh? Not really. We're in the pretty early stages here. Once we've got a project viewer out, we'll also try to have some docs on specific things you can do and what's expected to work. And, hopefully some test files as well. But at this stage, there's not a lot written down. Fractal, I don't think you missed a ton. We must have been talking about animation limits, I think. Can you hear me okay now? Yeah, the V0 animation format, I don't think, I think we can still play those back, but you can't upload them, so, whatever the representation was there, it's kind of a dead letter at this point.
Lucy, what do you
Yeah.
want to do with this with less of a restriction? Why is the restriction a problem? You can make huge things, just not the way you want to.
You can still make huge things via defining joint positions in the mesh files, can't you?
You can also scale up I think it's the pelvis or the origin or whatever, and that scales up everything, even your 5 meter limit.
I have a question of what's the limit for joint offsets. I don't actually know what the limit for joint offsets is. I'd have to take a look at the code. Anybody else know offhand? We had one question about increasing the animation limit to have more than 30 animations. I think we've had a few discussions about this before. I'm curious about the motivation. Why do we need more than 30? What would people do with it? What limit are they looking for?
I thought the limit was 60.
Yeah, I don't know. The point where it starts complaining in the log file is 64. I know that because I've seen a lot of logs that are complaining about it. But I'm not sure if there are other limits getting enforced some of the time.
Do you really need to play all of the animations at the exact same time? Can't you just play an animation and then have it stop and then play a different one without affecting the original? You know, Fate, you can change the default animation with set animation override. So maybe you could change the idle to not be something that interferes with it.
I see some discussions of trying to actually decipher the LLSD that's being used to upload meshes. I would hope you wouldn't need that for most purposes. I mean, the idea is we're trying to use an open format called Collada for mesh files and the DAEs and hopefully knowing how to structure those is enough for most purposes. But maybe there's cases where you need to go deeper. Okay, Beck, you're right. Some of the actual land impact calculations do use the size of the file, so I guess you would need it for that. How far are we from a project viewer? Yeah, it's the same story. We don't really know how long it's going to take until it's done. It's the the reason that these kinds of projects tend to be hard to estimate, and all projects have some difficulty there. But we're trying to do new things, which means that you kind of don't know what complexities may be lurking under the surface until you start poking in a particular area. So, if everything goes smoothly, you get nice fast progress, and then if you run into some bizarre lurking horror in the code, then you've got to take a side trip to deal with that, and things take longer than you hoped. So, I apologize, but you can't really attach dates to it. We'll, I'll keep you posted. I feel like currently we're making good progress, and I'm hopeful it's not going to be an insanely long time, but that's not a definite date, and I can't give you a definite date. It's true. I have all the NPCs to myself. So backing up a little bit to the question of trying to add more animations, really of course the goal isn't to have to run thousands of animations that each animate one joint or something. That's kind of a it's kind of a bad use of the system. I would be curious to understand if there are other ways that we could be addressing those same same objectives in a way that doesn't require so many animations.
I think Fate is making a tool to make animations with.
Okay. Temporary animations built on the server and sent to the viewer. So built out of what? This is yeah. This is the idea that you've got some kind of LSL based description of joint positions, and then that gets translated into an animation at some stage. Yeah, I can see how IK might work for some cases as well. Lucia, don't try to find anything in Jira. It's just not worth it. Puppeteering, yeah, that must go back a ways. That was before my time, and I've been here a while. Yeah, I'd be worried being that close to the fire. The goat looks kind of hungry. Is that a new model, Metu?
We're getting lots of textures for it, so it might look different, but same model, different texture.
Okay. Sounds like we're going pretty far back on some of these pivot discussions. I'm still not sure exactly what you're shooting for there. Could somebody give me kind of the elevator pitch for what exactly that's about? Thought it was a bug and it was actually a feature.
And changing the pivot is important for things like doors and things like that. Well, now that we have Animesh, wouldn't we eliminate things like doors or anything that has or bends like that? Wouldn't it use a skeleton instead now? But Beck, as Veer has pointed out, the only thing that's influencing anything is a moving bone. You can have all kinds of bones sitting there, but they're not influencing anything.
Yeah, just having extra bones around isn't particularly costly. You know, you're wasting a little bit of memory to store them, but it's really the ones that are getting animated and that are moving the meshes around that have a significant performance impact. It probably wouldn't be very hard to add some ability to, prune out the unused part of the skeleton if just the overhead of storing those extra bones turned out to be an issue. But that's more of a common optimization pass thing. It's not something we'd be looking at quite yet. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely not going to be tackling arbitrary skeletons in the sense of, you can define whatever, um, skeleton topology you want as part of your object. That would be just an absolute monster project. We didn't have the, cycles to tackle that during Bento. I don't think we're going to be doing it now either. The only thing we might potentially do would be just a prune back, where you start out with the full skeleton and then throw away the bits you're not using. That's more just a performance optimization thing or a memory optimization thing. Yeah, I mean, I agree that arbitrary skeletons would be a neat thing, and it is something that we've talked about from time to time. But realistically, it's not going to be happening anytime soon. Yeah, Amanda, you have some videos about kind of effectively having a new skeleton um, by basically moving the bento bones to different places to match things, right? That's like for your elephant.
Well, yeah, essentially you can create your own skeleton and then constrain our Second Life skeleton to your skeleton in however way you want. And that's basically what I did with the elephant. Is I created a whole new trunk and using just arbitrary bones in the face, and those bones are just constrained to a brand new skeleton that I created for the trunk. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be great to have arbitrary skeletons, but in many ways, it's somewhat redundant. I mean, even whether you're talking about humans or animals or whatever, we kind of all use kind of the same skeleton. So, I mean, yeah, you could add a bone here or there or whatever, but pretty much anything that moves with, four limbs has the same skeleton. So, I don't see a problem. I kind of like how we did this, how we did Bento.
Yeah, it'll be interesting seeing where the marketplace goes with this. As we've mentioned, we're really not trying to tackle all of the things that you'd like to have for NPCs in this initial project. Just the basic kind of run animations on objects. I think lets you do some cool stuff. Including things like pets or probably various kinds of mechanisms. But I would think if you want really human-like avatars, you probably want to have something that can actually tie into the baking service and have an inventory and that sort of thing. And that's a follow-on thing. That's not something that we're going to have right out the gate with the initial release. Maybe I was thinking inventory in the sense of wearables that you use for baking. Uh, of course, objects can have inventory in them, and so one way you could do NPC-like things would be to dump a bunch of skins and clothing items and things an Animesh object, and then bake those into baked textures, then put those bakes on the meshes. So I think you could do a lot with that, but it's a more ambitious project than just the initial get things animating, which is what we're trying to do right now. Yeah, not trying to do attach points at least for the initial project. It's the sort of thing that we can discuss once we get to the stage where there's something to test and iterate on. All right. Well, we just have a couple minutes left anyway. Yeah, sorry about the region crash. Anybody else have questions? Is anybody hearing me on voice? Okay.
One thing I wanted to mention though is, do we really even need attachment points? I mean, like with our own avatars, when we wear something that's rigged, it doesn't matter where we attach it to. It's rigged, so it goes to wherever it needs to be. If we have rigged things for NPCs or animeshes, wouldn't they just work the same way?
I thought the motivation was more to be able to attach, static objects. You make your Animesh cat wear your hat or whatever, that sort of thing.
But if it was rigged, it would work anyways.
Yeah, yeah. The attachment points almost don't mean anything for rigged objects, right? Like, it doesn't matter for a rigged object. It doesn't a rigged mesh. It doesn't matter where it's attached to the skeleton, because it's just positioned based on the rigging rather than based on the attachment point. Sorry, Polycell, I'm not sure which thing you're talking about there. Having people following around other skeletons. You know, the proposal we talked about was having the ability have something like an Animesh object attached, not attached, but referencing some bone in someone else's skeleton, in an avatar skeleton. I'm not sure if that's what you mean. Oh yeah, no, I don't think the intent there really is to uh, really change the parenting, but it's just to have things kind of move in a way that's consistent with that. You probably wouldn't really want to have a skeleton hierarchy that was, recursively nested. I think that would get messy pretty fast. Yeah, I don't know how easy it is to do without parenting. I mean, you can have some kind of check, when thing A moves, adjust thing B to match up to it or something like that. But it's not something that we've really delved into the implementation details at this point. It's kind of in the early discussion stages. All right. Well, we might as well wrap up uh, for the session. We're a little past end time. I know we missed a couple minutes in there relogging. Um, so let's see. I think we will be meeting at our usual time next week. So I guess I will see everybody then. Yeah. All right. Thanks for coming, all.